Yo, welcome back to another episode of changing the Apex maps to make them a bit more comp viable. I really should have come up with a better name for this series, but here we are, episode 5. We're finally going to be covering the newest map to actually get added into Apex, but not the newest one to get added into comp, because obviously that was Olympus. Also, not the newest one to get changes, since Olympus has obviously just been changed at the time of recording this. E-District is one of the better comp maps, in my opinion. And there's not many things that I would change. Most of what I would change is actually just personal opinion. And it's based on other things within the map. For example, there's one particular POI, which we're going to get into. I just don't like it. I despise it. I think it could have been done way better based on other POIs in the map. But yeah, we'll get onto that later. There is a couple things where it's just as simple as I think it needs a few more entrances, chokes, whatever you want to call it. And then there's a few nitpicky things like City Hall. I don't like the fact that if a zone is pulling like over City Hall and maybe pulling towards the bridge area, you basically have 3 huge buildings to play, and one, it's very hard to hold those buildings because of how they're designed, and 2, when you do manage to hold them, because you've got like a Caustic or a Watson or whatever, it's practically what's it called, the difficulty basically to hold them because of how spread out your abilities and your team has to be to effectively hold it. Very likely that someone will somehow manage to get under you and play off of you getting railed or whatever. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the rest of the video. City Hall won't be on here just because, again, that's a nitpicky thing. But one of the nitpicky things is, which is the POI, will be in here, and it'll be apparent why I've included that and not City Hall when we get to that point. But yeah, without further ado, we're gonna load in with our usual Valkyrie so we can get around the map faster. And yeah, I'll see you guys when we're in there. So we are in, as you can see, and firstly, just as a nitpicky thing, like obviously you can see I'm spawning at settlement, right? I think this dropship should not be on this side of the wall. I think it should be on this side because it's way too easy for teams to do this. I'm already attacking stadium. Alright, anyway, our first section is actually pretty close, so we will get on this real quick. And it is here. This block is too big. I feel like there needs to be another entranceway over here that I'm flying now. Like, coming this way. Oh shit. Would be bad, wouldn't it? I would start recording the video again. Anyway, yeah, so this space back here is not, like, it's used in some niche, like, rotates. But for the most part, this space back here is just not used. And I feel like if we had a way through from, like, here to here, and then maybe add another one from here into, like, intersect it, to give you multiple choices, then it would encourage people to use this back area a bit more. And maybe you could put a building or two, you know, back here. Just like one of these smaller buildings here, or one of this multiple story buildings. Just, you know, whack them over there. It would very much encourage this area to be utilized a bit more. Well, that is basically it for this area. So we'll move on to the next one, and I'll bring you back once we're over there. Alrighty, so we're here in Humbert Labs, and there's a few things I would change about Humbert, but one of the things that I've noticed is whenever there's a ring that pulls like in this general area, right, there's always like a team playing here. There's always like if there's able to, because of how the ring has formed in like ring 3 and ring 4, there will obviously be teams playing in these areas as well, right? And then there's more likely to be a team playing here too. And I know you have these things to climb up, right? But the pipe is really like could cause an issue if you're getting shot at by other teams, basically. And what I'm proposing is that this area here actually be, you know, joined up with this. Because if you do like the quick, you know, just a ping test. Oh, okay. I'll ping there because I can see where it is. Okay, right. It actually would match up. Like you could put a little bit of stairs here and then basically make it so that from where my ping is here, you would actually walk down a set of stairs that, you know, don't need to be this wide. They could be too wide. You could basically remove the pipe from here, too wide, down into there, and it would make teams that are playing this area underneath think about, you know, how they're playing the area, because you need to hold another entrance. But it would also mean that they have the ability to like rotate out, and if another team decides to play here and just like hold them at the stairs, then so like it would depend on how good each player is at, you know, making sure they don't die to the angle, if that makes sense. And then also just more playable area around the bridge rather than, you know, having to play here. So I don't know how they would do that per se, but just a suggestion. This again was more of a nitpicky one, and Humbert can be quite hard to like rotate up as a team, you know. Playing up here, you struggle to get from over there. You'll struggle to walk up if you need to. Like, I would like to see more of these like back end zip lines on the like. I know you got this bit here, but it would be kind of cool to see a way of getting up on this front side as well. But without further ado, Old Town. There's not much to say about Old Town. If I did want to be nitpicky, I would say maybe move it a bit further back and make it so that it wasn't as easy for Humbert to in Old Town or Old Town to in Humbert. But besides that, our next area is actually Shipyard Arcade. We can actually go from this side, and I'll show you from here what I'm posing as a suggestion. So we have these two chokes and the back chokes to rotate into Shipyard, right? What I am suggesting is basically another similar smaller choke like these two on the sides and these two at the back. Not as wide as this one at the front, but these like basically just another choke really. Here over into Shipyard. Right. And you could put it coming out on top of the, you know, the height here. Boom. It's here. Right. And then the same on the opposite side. Doing the same thing from the little height building, little height bit that's there through to here. In fact, they could even do it from here to here, but I think that would be a bit closer to, a bit too close to this. So let me get on over to the other side, and I'll show you where I'd actually put it. I'll be back in a moment. Alrighty then, we're on the other side now. I would say, basically from this height here, same as on the other side, and then we'd actually go through to like where the road meets here.
We should cruise over there.
That makes sense. So let me just fly around there real quick and I'll be back. Alright, so basically like here. Actually preferably probably this wall, because you know you've got the bus stop as cover, the bus itself, and this other building. But our next area to cover is actually viaduct, and what I'm suggesting would, if you put it here, would make it possible still, but you wouldn't have to worry so much about viaduct. So without further ado, let's get onto that real quick. So what I was thinking when I was trying to decide, let's grab this evac real quick. When I was thinking of my suggestions for this map, was this back area, besides when the zone pulls back there, is barely used. If there's a Evo back there, you might, you know, like there is now, for example, there's an Evo back here, right? The viaduct team might end up going for it, as well as the street market team, and that could cause them to fight, which, as we've discussed in previous episodes, isn't really that big of an issue. But what I'm suggesting is make it so that viaduct is a bit further back, like here. So this compound here would technically be considered part of viaduct. Now, viaduct is obviously on the water. Like, if you look down, it's on the water, right? It's, I'd imagine, part of the law, if there was like full-blown law written about the POIs, part of this POIs, I stumbled over my words there. This part of this POI's law would be that it, you know, it's some sort of like processing for the map, but you know, water comes under it anyway. So I'm not suggesting like get rid of the bridge entrance.
We should cruise over there.
I'm actually thinking more of putting it over where this bridge is, so it's like on the edge a bit, if that makes sense. And yes, you might argue, oh well, if you were as high as viaduct is now, but here you'd be able to see into street market. I mean, yes, but not the main POI. It's more so this building here. And even then, I think they could get away with doing something about that by adding maybe more trees in the area. A lot of the sight lines are covered from trees. And it's basically, if a recon is looking through, that you'd be able to actually like see, because it's highlighted, right? So like put one more tree in between here and there. There you go. In my opinion anyway. Again, all of these changes I'm suggesting are my opinions. If you have any suggestions of your own, feel free to put them in the comment section below. I did think about these buildings here and making a suggestion of like doing something with them to make it a bit more playable in this area. But I've seen some really good teams just hold the area with certain legends. And I know part of the I outlined with this series was not to have to play certain legends. But you don't really have to play the legends. You just have to be aware of your angles and surroundings and stuff. So it is it would be nitpicky in my opinion, and I know we've already been nitpicky in this episode, but we're about to get a whole lot more nitpicky once we head a bit further north on the map. And firstly, actually, do you know what? Whilst we've got the map open, I know I closed it and reopened it, but that's beside the point. Energy Bank, in my opinion, is entirely too big of a POI. Like, also, the fact that its dropship is up north, basically here, like, just encourages you to fight the Riverside team or the Galleria team. And when we get on to Riverside, because it is part of the video, and Galleria, I will cover that a bit more. But this POI is entirely too big, and I personally think the dropship for it should actually be more so over here. So what we'll do is I will head on over there now. I'll show you where I would prefer, like, go and stand below where I'd prefer the dropship to be personally, and then when we get over there, we'll head on over to Riverside and Galleria and probably talk about those to finish out the video. So I'll see you back when we get over there. Alrighty then, we are here in E-Bank, and yeah, as I said, the dropship drops you basically right here, in between the big 4-story building, 5-story building. How, I can't remember. Yeah, it's 4. See the windows. And then the little 2-story building. And I would prefer it to drop you on this side because of the fact that obviously it's not like you have far to go to loot anyway, because 1, there's an arsenal, 2, there's a couple pills. Obviously there's pills there, there's pills here. There's buildings here. And okay, it's pretty close to the choke that goes to City Hall, but it's nowhere near as close to City Hall as Galleria or the Riverside dropships. Same with like Neon Square, Draft Point, and I would have suggested this side, but of course one of the suggestions I made earlier that I wasn't on my list was putting the dropship of settlement on the recon side. So it'd be like here, and maybe they would be able to get over the wall, which caused an issue. So the fact, if it stays this big, I think you need to be far enough away to where if you're flying that direction, you can see them doing it, if that makes sense. And also, you are far enough away from other POIs to where you can at least have a time to think before getting ran at. But overall, this POI is entirely too big, and you have to, like, to loot it efficiently, you have to basically just forego half of it. Like, you basically have to say, okay, we're gonna loot this top half, and everything else is like whatever. If we rotate that way, then we'll grab what we can. But for the most part, you have to just say fuck it. It's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? You have to loot what you can and then go. So otherwise, you will just get like ran at by Galleria, and more specifically Riverside. Like, Riverside will quite often in ranked just grab 2 guns and come straight over to you because they know you've got a huge POI to loot and your dropship has landed close to them. So even if you're not trying to hold them and chow them, if you're looting this and then walking into Energy Bank, they can just, you know, climb up on this building over here, zip across, and look down on you and go, oh, okay, right, well, they're all here, let's just shoot them and kill them. And if, again, you don't do that, then you're spread out and they can just pick one of you off. So with that out of the way, let's actually go and look at Riverside, and we will finish the video off with Galleria. So this POI, oh, look at that, we got another evac, so we can use that to go to Galleria. Anyway, with that said, Riverside, in my opinion, suffers from the issue of, obviously, Energy Bank could do the same thing, right? They can loot these 2 buildings and then just try and run at you. So if you decide you're not going to run at them and you're looting, you can end up in a very bad situation. Especially if Galleria decides to come through as well from that choke, which can cause you an issue. Another thing is energy. Electrodam has the grav cannon. Yeah, as you can see, you can just see like the outline of it on the map. It's situated right there. If they take a grav cannon, it brings you basically here.
Let's check that.
Most people will do the little like trick shot thing, if you want to call it a trick shot. And when they, in fact, you can see the cannon from here, look, the little green lines. And they'll grab onto this balloon so that they can use that and fly wherever they want to go. But if the zone is pulling this side and you hear people shooting in this area, why would you not grab cannon, land about where these buildings are? Although I have seen people with like, I've seen people go further, like here.
Check that quadrant. Wings out.
So it could, it could be a, you know, slide onto a grav cannon thing or a, but definite if Horizon, if Horizon is in the meta, you can get like pretty much down here. Like it's wild how far she can go. Arrow to an extent can also do that. But without saying too much. My suggestion for Riverside was actually like move it a bit further over so that it was more in this sort of area. It could cause issues with City Hall though, so you'd have to change the dropship with City Hall, because I'm pretty sure the City Hall dropship is here right now, if I'm not mistaken. You might have to put it a little bit further over this way, which to be fair could make it so it's more likely that City Hall actually loots this area. But yeah. And then also part of the Riverside section of this video, I made a note and outlined it on my map when I was making notes, that this area here, this like throughway into Lotus, this was what I was on about when talking about something that I was going to suggest that the Apex devs have already added when I was talking about it on episode 1, which was Storm Point. I was going to say that we needed another way through into Lotus that was from Riverside when I initially like thought about making these kind of videos, and this works. It can be a bit of a issue in some regards to like fight around in and stuff like that, but I believe if Riverside was a little bit closer, it might cause less of an issue, if that makes sense, because you'd be more inclined to go and play one of the buildings that are outside, if that makes sense. But without further ado, let's move on to Galleria. Alrighty then, without further ado, let's get on to Galleria. Firstly, I think the whole area in its entirety is beautiful, and I get the vision with the whole like shopping market, mall, Americans call it, like type thing, where like everything, you know, there's a bunch of these like little shops right everywhere. You've got escalators and stuff as well, like an elevator, like it makes sense, okay? But fight in this area is really annoying. When you're trying to efficiently loot this in comp is really annoying. So honestly, I think the whole area just overall needs changing, personally. The chokes into it are pretty hard to play and play around, like fighting in them as well. You know, the most cover you basically have, if you're pushing, is these trees. and they're little like stomps, if you will. So, but you know what? Let's just fly because you can get an idea of what I'm on about with. Like, this one's got the little like kimono things. I forget what they're called.
What's wrong with you?
Not kimono. Kimono's a fucking garment. This has the little wall here, but it's very, very difficult to, you know, push through. Okay, it's beeping because we are getting past the time that would normally be allotted. These things is what I'm on about. I forget what they're fucking called, but like, definitely not a kimono. Kimono is a garment. I don't know why that came into my head when I was thinking of what to say. But I think it also struggles from the same thing as the energy, like getting into gardens. The POI, the chokes are very close together. You know what I mean? So it can cause issues where if you start a fight with one team in a choke, then you best believe everybody in the area is going to run at you because it's easier for them to do. But yeah, trying to loot this efficiently in competitive is kind of difficult. Obviously, there's people who have done it and got loot paths for it. But even then, drawing loot paths for this POI is a lot more difficult than drawing it for any others, purely based on the fact that it's multiple levels, right? Like, so yeah, with that out of the way, I think we have covered everything on the map that I wanted to cover. There's a few nitpicky things, like I said earlier, City Hall. There's a couple things I could have said about Lotus as well, but overall, I think the vision that I think the devs had with those POIs, it works to an extent, right? The same with Galleria. It's more so I just personally hate this POI, and part of that is also the fact that obviously it's close to E-Bank, and so is the Riverside like POI, if you will, for the drop ships. So if they start fighting, you can already be like third party and like look at my Valk queue. I can literally queue somebody who's playing the top of that building and when they're fighting each other. You know what I mean? So yeah, other suggestion maybe if they were to keep Galleria as it is, maybe just move it a bit further back and make these chokes in this wall a bit more of an actual like choke thing. That makes sense. But again, personal opinion, and most of my like some of the suggestions I'll make, I might really like, you know, the idea of them, but then once they put them, if they put them in the game, I like once they were added, I'd be like, yeah, my suggestion got added, and then I might play it and I'd be like, oh, now I regret that. You know what I mean? So Galleria more so is I don't like the POI personally. Like I said, trying to work out an efficient loot path for it, and to draw that up is difficult. So because of the multiple levels. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. We're getting towards the end of the series now. One more video to go, and that is World's Edge. I said I was leaving World's Edge till last because it is the longest running competitive map, and obviously it's going to be pretty difficult to make suggestions on that, right? So yeah. So to summarize real quick before we actually like end the video itself, I would add a couple more chokes through Shipyard's walls. The choke here add a couple like entrances here to make it more accessible. Like what I was gonna relate Galleria to is Stadium. Like Stadium has a very similar sort of layout as Galleria, right? But it's so much harder to fight in Galleria and play around it than Stadium. And Stadium has all the shops as well, all over the place. So I'm not saying just copy paste Stadium, but like the fact that they are so different is, and Galleria to me, like again, feels horrible, is a statement in of itself to how good like Stadium is like designed. Okay, it doesn't feel great to fight in if you're getting insta pushed from settlement, but depending on what guns you have compared to what they have, that's a RNG factor, which is why I didn't include that in this thing, other than, you know, stating when we landed, because we landed at settlement, that I'd prefer the ship to be on the other side, so that it wasn't as possible to push Stadium. Energy bank being too big, we covered that. Viaduct moving back a bit, make this compound a bit more like viaduct connected rather than street market. Basically getting free roam, should I say. And then Riverside, like again, it wouldn't take much in my opinion. Swap the buildings around, put them a bit further here, and you know, this area here we covered that I was going to suggest it, but they already added it when they made E District into the daytime version that it is now. Like I couldn't even launch the nighttime version to show you. At least I haven't tried, but I'm pretty sure I couldn't launch the nighttime version to show you what it used to look like. This area over here in Humbert also changed. People didn't realize that changed between the daytime and the nighttime version as well. But that's a different discussion, if you will. And then we covered some of the like nitpicky things, like I said about City Hall, and then my personal preference on Galleria. Honestly, I wouldn't even have too much of a problem with Galleria if it was one less floor. You know what I mean? Like if the bottom floor maybe was the middle floor instead. I don't know. Personal preference. These are all my opinions. Again, as I keep saying, my opinions, my suggestions. If you have any of your own, leave them in the comments. Who knows? Maybe a dev will read them, because I am sharing these in the Apex Legends Creator Hub, which is how I'm able to actually like load in to the map by myself, and you know, do these videos, allow you guys to visualize what I'm saying I would change. And yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you have, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. And remember, if you have any suggestions of your own, as I've said a minute ago, leave them in the comments section below, because you never know. It might get seen, it might get used. But I will say, if you do leave a comment with a suggestion, please try and be descriptive. You know, just saying Riverside needs changed, it isn't gonna really help the devs if they read that comment. But either saying, yeah, I agree with you, Riverside could use with a little bit of change, move it a bit further away from the wall, and put it closer to Lotus, then maybe they are more likely to you know, see that vision, if you will. And if you, for example, want settlement changed, say in settlement, oh okay, in settlement put this there and that, whatever, do you know what I mean? Be descriptive as possible, because reading a comment is a whole lot harder. Do you know what I mean? Because I could have literally sat here with a interactive map open and gone, right, well, we need to change Riverside and move it here. We need to put another like walkway through this wall here. And as much as that would have got my point across, it wasn't allow you guys as viewers or the devs to visualize what I'm suggesting. So hence why I reached out to the Creator Hub and asked for the ability to be able to join lobby and do what I'm doing. So yeah, again, without further ado, I'm conscious that I'm like rambling now, so we'll see you on the next one. And if you have enjoyed the video, like and subscribe and comment suggestions, as I said. But we'll see you on the next one. Peace.